Hello, everyone. My name is Arlette Villalpando, and this week 14 discussion board, we're going to be focusing on the qualitative research our observations. So, our objective for this week was to assume the role of qualitative research based on what we've learned from our chapters 10 and 13. And symmetrically observe a social group that we interact with on the daily or weekly basis. And we had a couple examples where we could focus on. And then after we do that, we take field notes as a sociologist and share our observations and research experiences. So just like the examples, I chose the gym personally because I know I go there daily and weekly. I try to keep it a very normal routine for me. So to explain a little bit of my setting, I chose to conduct the observations at my local gym. And the times that I go is during the morning between 5 to 6:30ish, sometimes around 5:15. So then it pushes to like 6:50ish, it just depends. Which is when the same group of people always tend to show up. I feel like it's always like teachers and office people. Like I've seen a couple people between those like descriptions. People that work, this time of day is active but peaceful. Like everyone's still waking up but we're still getting our workout in. There's music playing, weights are clanking and banging on the floor, and people are just going between machines and trying to get their workout in. So taking notes was not hard, but it wasn't easy because, of course, I also had to get my workout in. I paid attention to where people positioned themselves and who talked to who and how the group's interactions looked from an outsider's view. Being in such an active environment meant that I had to observe quickly and record my details down immediately so that I wouldn't forget them. Over a few days, the routine became more natural, and I found myself noticing more patterns that I would usually ignore. Why? Because I was focused on myself. I was focused on my workout. So for the first question, did you learn anything new about the social groups when assuming the role? So for me, I would say that I assume that the role of a qualitative researcher and began observing my social group more intentionally. I realized that my observations were more like overlooked. For example, I feel like I would observe a small group I would see at the gym weekly, and I always thought everyone interacted casually and equally. But when I watched more carefully, I noticed that the same people constantly would set up for the same group of people. It looked like they like there was particular people that would decide what machine the group would go on, or who partnered up with who, or even like when the sets were done and when they were ready to move on. So viewing these groups made me see that there was leadership roles that stood out, and if you could see them, you would notice it. So it was very like openly acknowledged, and like everyone knows, like you see and you know. Was it difficult to maintain the role of a researcher? If so, why? It was somewhat difficult to maintain the role as a researcher, especially at the location I chose, because I'm used to just going to the gym and focusing on myself. Instead, I had to like step back a few times and focus on observing the patterns and who gravitates to who or who speaks to who the most. Or I also noticed a lot of nonverbal cues like glances or nods, which guided decisions. I feel like we never see that till we're at, like till you actually think about it. But like, you hardly talk at the gym unless you guys go together, you know? This shift felt unnatural because it created a little emotional distance. I felt myself thinking analytically about behavioral that I usually experience. And lastly, did you reveal that you were taking the role as a researcher? I chose not to reveal it, because I didn't want anyone to alter their behavior or feel like they were being watched, especially at the gym. Even after the notes that I took, and when this was over, I still didn't tell them. Why? Because they're strangers, so I didn't want to be like weird. Um, reminding Remaining discreet allowed me to see a more natural interactions, and it confirmed that how people would act differently if they were unaware of being studied. But overall, observing a familiar gym group gave me so like much of a deeper understanding of the subtle power dynamics and routines that shape even the most informal settings. Thank you so much for listening.